March 2021 through, I'd say we go to April 1st of 2021. Make sure you say rabbit, rabbit, and I'm not April Fool and you, anybody. We got this full moon in Libra, but that's just one aspect of things right now in life for people to really, I think, pay attention to. Let me get more comfortable here. My Instagram people are going to have to deal with me getting a little bit more comfortable here. There we go. This is a time that I've been, I don't even want to use the word stress because it does bring stress to people, but I've been stressing the fact that with Mars and Rahu meeting up, while the sun now is in Aries, we're seeing the sun and Venus meet up at the same time. We're in a lot of energy where every planet's direct, every planet's fast. If there's any time to, when anything comes up in your life, to do it, do it! I know I'm like repeating myself now for the third week, but with the full moon in Libra, that's going to be the peak. Mars and the North Node will have met. Mercury and Neptune are coming up this week. So this is a time where everything is coming to its peak for the rest of the year. For the rest of the year. And I know that sounds like, what do you mean? Because I'm getting a lot of people, what do you mean? I have free will. I can just manifest whatever I want whenever I want to. Really? So if I told you you want to go get tan, and if we were to go on AccuWeather or we were to go anywhere, and it would say that the peak of the UV index, the peak of the sun's hotness in the day would be at 2 p.m. that day. But you were like, I was like, you want to get tan? Go to the beach at noon and stay till 4 p.m. And you started to be like, well, I don't want to go then because I have a lot more to do, like sit around and hesitate and not do anything in my life and contemplate. And the news is telling me, well, things are going to be back to normal in life with tanning, so I'm going to just go when they say to go at like 7 p.m. at sunset. I only need maybe 5 minutes of sun to tan. You're not going to get a tan. You're going to miss out on the energy's peak. So I know it's a stupid example, but it's pretty good, I think, because it actually is using the sun. It's actually using how we use astrology and timing. And also it's time of year, right? So it doesn't matter on what side of the earth you are. We're both at the equinox, right? We're both at equal day, equal night. So we're at seasons changing. So, you know, sure, weather could be different in different parts of the globe, but primarily this is where the whole earth is on an equal playing field for a moment. So take that and add that to everything that I was just saying about what's actually happening right now with all these planets direct and with this full moon in Libra. This is a peak out. And it's going to be opposite Venus. And the Sun-Venus conjunction is a big one to me because it's happening in Aries. And we all, when it comes to relationships, our money, manifestation elements of the things that are making us feel better. And since Venus is the planet that does deal with us feeling better in life, everything kind of feels like it reached no man's land with those energies. And so I think that, yes, astrology does like to show Sun Venus as not being really well aspected in life, but maybe that's for a good reason, because when the sun and Venus get together and the sun burns Venus out in a detrimental Venus, it almost feels like we needed things to burn itself off us, like burn that energy away. But the negative aspects of this, of course, bring up, like, look at money, for example, right? Like, the markets are unsure. You know, there's predictions of markets and jobs going good. The Treasury and the Fed are doing talks every day publicly. You're probably wondering about your money a lot. This is going to come up with Chiron. That's going to be with this full moon. Because Sunday's full moon's pretty intense. 8 degrees. We got it in good aspects with the nodes, though. We have it in good aspects with Mars. We have the moon opposed Chiron, the moon opposed the sun, of course, being a full moon, and the moon opposed Venus. I mean, you can't ask for all, it's 888. Now, I'm going to get a little out there with people. But there's been a lot of people through astrology that crack the Bible and say that, like, if you were to take, like, Satan and being 666, that, like, the portal to Jesus would be 888. It's kind of interesting to see all these 8s, number one. Because if you think about all the 8s going on, you've got the sun, you've got Chiron, you got Venus, you got the moon. You've even got Uranus, right? So we have a quincunx from the moon to Uranus. That this is about relationships. It's a Sun-Venus, it's a Sun-Chiron-Venus, and ironically enough, Charlico, however you say her name, which is so weird, which is, of course, Chiron, the weirdo, would marry a weird name woman, but who would love him and see the weirdness and the uniqueness and learn to accept that within him and see the beauty within that uniqueness and weirdness. We're all having to get out of the most egoic stuff that we have all been subconsciously trapped by the dark. Take, for example, celebrities and celebrity culture, Instagram celebrity culture, especially more modelisque, or like, you know, like everybody tries to, and I'm not saying like everybody does it, but everybody's wondered in themselves, oh, do I need to change something in me in order to do this, to feel more like I need to be, or what I want to be? This brings up vanity a lot. It's Libra rules beauty, and then we're dealing with all this Taurus Uranian energy at 8, and then we've got the Sun and Venus conjunct. This is dealing with so much self-worth, and this is like the peak. All the planets are fast. The sun and the moon are with the nodes and positive aspects on this full moon, with Mars being on top of there. This is where you seize the opportunities and you win. So this is where you have to, in your life, not be hesitant. If you're not happy, because Sun Venus is going to bring up this, where are you not liking and feeling good? Where is the relationships that don't work? Where are the things that are not making you feel like you can move forward in your life the way that you want to? Then that helps you see the opposite part, which is going to be like, oh gosh, because Venus is a good reflector, right? Like, that's what relationships do. It's what money does. It reflects our self-worth. What you have and what you don't have is reflects where your spiritual, as Christopher Witecki would say, soul capital comes from. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Christopher, because him and I are in our 12 years of being friends and astrologers, and I learned so much from him, and he got me on my course. And I watched his horoscope for this week, and he just keeps bringing the fire. And I just want to put a shout out. If you haven't watched Soul Garden TV's horoscope, Witecki's video for this week, it was fire. And I love him. He's my brother. He didn't even know I'm promoting him right now, but I don't watch many people, and, you know, out of nowhere, I found myself the other night sitting down. I was actually here at the music studio, and I needed a moment just to, like, shut up my mind for a minute, and I actually was like, well, let's see what Chris is saying. And he said some amazing stuff, so definitely check it out. But these reflections are coming up extreme. And with Uranus, that's in a weird angle to this full moon. our egos and this whole thing I was bringing up, celebrity culture, all this deprogramming has to take place. This goes from political to every aspect, because the number one thing right now that we all need to start paying attention to is, if we're going to use all this energy right now as the collective and to get what you want in our life, Aries, Taurus, Gemini are the first three signs. Okay? They're all with this full moon. Libra is the last sign of balance before you move to the other signs, right? It's the balance beam to the other signs that deal with more maturity, age, and more like serious energies, right? This is where we can capitalize on our life, and especially when it comes to owning our sovereignty, owning our individual rights and freedoms as unique individuals. Because with Jupiter and Saturn that are in Aquarius, this full moon isn't trying to Saturn. In Aquarius. Fairness, justice for the uniqueness in the individual is everything right now. We have all the energy giving us this, but with this full moon on Chiron, it's going to highlight where are we giving away our sovereignty and holding on to higher powers bullshit for them. It's like, make decisions about my body for me. Make decisions of where all the tax money goes. Make this, and this doesn't matter about left or right. This is just taking fact. Make decisions about how the world should be, but the world is not getting a chance to define it. That's very Chiron to me. I'm going to hold on to your bullshit, government, world government, WHO, organizations, about how life should be, and I'm just going to take it up the fucking crapper. No. This is the full moon that is the last chance for the whole world before it gets crazy weird. And you all know what they're trying to do is they're ready to start, instead of you being a hot Instagram model now, because you have some nice titties that you got done, and some maybe you get nice filler, or maybe you got a nice butt down in Brazil. No judgment. There's a little stupid card now that they want you to have. That people with a mask on with the picture that they have the card that they got the shot is the new Instagram model. Gender neutral, of course. I want you all to take that one in. You're not hot no more unless you got that card with a mask on, saying that you're doing your justice to the world. This is the courtroom of God that we are stepping into right now. The justice card in tarot. But I would say it's at one step further than the justice card. It's the judgment card. Now, this isn't about judging people. I don't judge if that's what an individual wants to do and that's what makes them feel hot and sexy and programmed by doing it. Because I don't know if y'all know, I just found this out like a couple days ago. That's what they're telling people when they get the shot, is to take a picture with the card, with a mask on, and say that you're doing your good thing. Did you know that? Did you know that? I did not know that one. The propaganda money is in full swing. I was in AutoZone. I was in AutoZone yesterday. Okay? It's a gender neutral place. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, but let's just say that more masculine energy goes into AutoZone. Okay? Let's just say that, like, the stats are pretty high. Bet you I could get the guarantee on that one. Unless somebody wants to, like, short me on that bet that I'm wrong. that more men go into AutoZone than women. I don't know. So I'm sitting there with a whole entire store full of dudes, and they use the radio to play music, which is usually rock. And it was commercials the whole time. And in the commercials were, you have every right to be very emotional during these times about the question about the shot. You could be excited. I was like, well, excited? You could be anxious. But you deserve to have those questions. That's why we're here for you. To make sure that you realize, and it's beyond gaslighting, it's beyond manipulation, it's a whole nother level of evil. It gets you into your feelings and your emotions, and it starts going, but what about your family? What about your friends? So then what they do is they get you about, like, it's okay to be emotional, but because this is here, and would you rather die or live? I want to remind people, as Mars and the North Node are meeting in Gemini, and this might be the only transmission I'll ever be able to give out about this ever again. You have more of a chance of living from this thing, percentage-wise, than the efficiency percentage of any of the shots. Has anybody remembered that one? You don't need to go into what's in it, what it is, or anything like that. It's not like a seatbelt. When you get in a car accident and you don't have a seatbelt on, it's a guaranteed number. You have a higher chance of dying. Like, it's just going to happen. That's why seatbelts were created. This is not like a seatbelt, because guess what? In this car of whatever this thing is, you don't need to wear the seatbelt, and you have a higher chance of surviving. Also, seatbelts, when you just put it on, don't out of nowhere take people out.
Not usually.
So, to get back to our personal lives, because why am I setting that as a background drop right now? What's coming is what you already know, but even weirder and even way different and even crazier than you know. That's what Saturn square Uranus is. Because if we look at this chart, the full moon is tapping into, in a very weird way, with a trine to Saturn, but it's tapping into the quincunx to Uranus. The Saturn square Uranus transit. And I just want to say that Mercury and Neptune are on their way to meet up. Now, Mercury is not happy here. Let's take a look at, on this full moon, on the sheets, where we're at. Mercury will be at -7, be -14 parts of this week. Venus, of course, is getting burned out by the sun, so it's in negative and it's in detriment. The sun, though, is at +7. It's exalted, but Saturn's still ruling at +8. So, but the moon is with Saturn, adding it. So we have authority over our individual uniqueness. We have authority over us finding what true balance and real judgment and justice really is in our life. And it's not that it's going against the individual. It's going against the individual and the sovereign identity and the power and the strength that you have as a person. When you choose to not step into your strength and Chiron it out. Now, Chiron and Aries could do some negative things on the personal front, like letting our ego go too far and push away relationships or push out certain situations because it feels too odd and weird. So there's always going to be a positive and a negative to anything. I'm not trying to just sit here and just say, oh, all Chiron is about holding on to the bullshit of where you're not strong. Although I could generalize that about where you're not strong enough to, like, take on something. That's really what it's about. Take on something. Now, this is not about taking on things from some aggressive level or some crazy insurrection in the world. This is more about that the individual person has an individual right and an individual freedom that it must hold on to, and it is going through the ultimate test with all the planets direct, with the full moon in Libra, with all these aspects that are just perfect, and eights really are the loop infinity signal to decision making, to authority, but it's more importantly understanding that it's serious. It's serious. And whenever you get to seriousness, it's seriousness about things that are really trying to, in our life, be good for us and bring us the beauty and bring us this beautiful place. But Aries is reminding the full moon in Libra, you better not fuck it up by holding on to the identity of giving your identity away, giving your sovereignty away, giving away your energy to not stand up for what you know is your inner strength, which is your power, giving it away. You're not here to give it away because that's not fair, because by the time you hit Libra, it's like, okay, at least we are balancing the judgment of the scales of an individual's life, opposed to when you give that away at the beginning, and you show up to the judgment, oh, well, this person isn't really anything. We're going to make the judgment for you. It's like the migrants that are at the border. It's a horrible situation, and I'm not going to get political about it, but let's take it spiritually. Other people making decisions about your life, how you live, how you're going to be, whether you're going to stay or not stay, how you're going to be treated, how you're going to be handled. That's what's coming up as a big deal right now in the world. Remember when I talked about traveling? They said other countries too, because I know everybody's going to be like, you said planes. I said also other countries. It's not a time to go try and enter into other countries. South Node and Sag. North Node and Mars conjunct. Your power is within your own environment and the things that the universe has presented you with, that you have access to with your arms, within arm's length or phone's length or conversation's length to get somebody to get in a car and do all that kind of stuff, okay? And that's not also from another country. I hate to say it. That's not me being, like, against immigration. That's me just being like, no. Look at your life, and if you had to go out, is it really going out? Is it more stress? And are you missing out and just stepping into escapism with Mercury and Neptune here? The idea of the fantasy through the escape of some sort of place. This is this for us not to escape. Plus, we got Jupiter that's at the second decan. Here it is in 22 degrees of Aquarius, and it's trining Juno through this whole thing. Or sextile Juno, sorry. And I don't see any weird semi-squares except for Mercury semi-square Uranus. Owie. This week. Yeah, because if we're at 38, and then by the time we end this week, Mercury's entering its semi-square with Uranus. $30, $38, that gets to 0, -7 is 23 degrees. Mercury will go 23 degrees as we start, we get into Tuesday of next week. And then the full moon's over, and Mars is done with Rahu, and we are all going to go through some really weird shit in our environment, in our lives, and we're gonna have to deal with it. I mean, that'll also be Mercury square Juno, and that'll. So all I'm trying to tell you all is like, this is it. I've been saying this for a long time, folks. For 3 weeks, folks. Listen up. I'm doing my press conference right now, folks. I'm here. This is where you seize on it, and you don't give away your power anymore by not stepping into your power. You got to take the risk to a better life. That's what Uranus says. Uranus is by trying new things and by getting in the elevator. You know, Christopher Kentucky told me the best thing about Uranus. Him and I used to live with him back in 2010. And he was having some downloads about Uranus. And him and I would talk lots of crazy things about planets and stuff. And he always looked at it as the elevator that goes up and down. It's like the Tower of Terror, Uranus. Because if you don't go up, and you don't hold that line and keep trying to innovate, it's almost like the Tower of Terror, or now they call it at Disneyland the Guardians of the Galaxy, where the elevator just starts going like this and then it drops. Because Uranus shoots you up high or just throws you down to the bottom and slaps you in the face and goes, you didn't innovate, you didn't try. And I think that this is a very important notion that we're having the Mercury and the Moon making very weird aspects to Uranus this week. And the fact that also the Sun, Chiron, and Venus are going to be in semi-sextile to Uranus. Even though it's a 30-degree angle, don't discredit it. Because it's like a blind spot. And I think this blind spot is realizing that in order to ascend higher in our lives now, the only way to do that is through identifying and having the courage to move into the things we want. And if you're going to identify yourself with the worst humanitarian crisis of all time, which is the stripping away of human rights, of what you can do, who you can see, and what you're able to do because you have a fucking card. Let's have fun. What would be the tarot card about what Spirit thinks about this? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the science experiment in the middle of Saturn square Uranus is the best thing that ever happened. I'm willing to at least look at that in life. But I'm here to tell you that astrologically, from what I see, it's not. But I'm willing to always be wrong. I'm willing to always be wrong. I also am somebody who said to you all that Joe Biden would not win the presidency. And he did win it. And even though a lot of people, and no, this isn't rhetoric that came from you know who, because I did plenty of astrology proving that this was going to come up based off the 1854 through 1856 elections. All I'm saying is we don't know. And it's been a very weird presidential run for this guy. Go look up the 21-gun salute. Go look up why was the military wearing no clothes that had their insignia on their uniforms. Was that really him up the stairs falling? I'm on to question these things. Why doesn't he do any press conferences? Oh, until everything's passed, that was pre-planned, and now they're on to, after a horrible mass shooting, which, you know, it's kind of weird because it wasn't a typical person that you usually would see do a mass shooting. It's exactly the kind of people that we were supposed to be afraid of by this same president in 2001. Has anybody... I haven't heard that on any news either. I don't know if anybody's actually asking that one question yet. It's like, that war still hasn't ended. But like, now it's not the right one to talk about because you can't talk about that one. And no, for those out there that are asking if I'm thinking of the letter Q, no, this is just fucking common sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just common sense. This is just common sense. Been doing this shit a long time. You know what I mean? Long time. So we'll see. Let's see what Spirit has to say about that card that they're having everybody come up, and I'm going to use it as an example now of the humanitarian just complete taking away of your soul by having a card. Okay? And I give it a nice shuffle too. Like I reset this deck, I'll do one more shuffle, and I'm turning them. You know me, I pull reversals, everything like that. It's funny, the first card that did pop up is the Eight of Cups, which is walk the fuck away from it, but it flew out. I won't count that one since I said I would pick, but there's proof. You all saw. I mean, I don't think Instagram saw, but at least YouTube saw. That was the card that popped up. Walk away. Or some people could read that as, oh, well, we're moving on to something new. Do that. Or walking away from this disaster. So, I can't make it up. The Three of Swords.
And what were you asking about again?
What Spirit thought about the shot in the arm? Heartbreak. And that's been the conversation that I've been having with family and friends, is the heartbreak about people who get it and what's going to happen when shit doesn't go right. Like, there's already shit not going right, right? There's questions about the data and so forth. Especially with an experiment. But you can also take this Three of Swords. There's a, in this one deck, there's a Black Widow. There was something I just saw that came out that was going to talk about a Black Widow. It was in the news. And I couldn't believe it either. I was like, what? Disney will move Black Widow, one of its first big movies, scheduled to reopen in theaters. That was what it was. What is this? It's a Marvel movie. Remember I've been talking about genetic and mutation and mutants and Marvel and how this shot in the arm does that? I can't make that shit up. That's what's in this fucking card. I did not plan any of this. This is all... I don't show up with a plan, okay, people? Black Widow. I want to know what it's about. Overview. In Marvel Studios' action-packed spy thriller, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Natasha must deal with her story as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. Scarlett Johansson. Sad. South Node Sag. Going on right now for Sages. Interesting. That was one day ago. So, to finish this, this is the new programming Instagram model that you're hot when you have this. It's like, hi. And the biggest humanitarian way is when you subject yourself and give yourself away. When all the information right now is within you, within God, it's within your soul to access God. It's kind of interesting. We use devices to get in touch with people. We can get in touch with people in our dreams. We can get in touch with people with sending out a signal. We can get in touch with God without having to go through anything else but our beautiful divine self. We can get in touch with the divine, ETs, all that without having to use some computer with a fucking satellite, like in the movie Contact, the old one, fucking, you know what I mean? With like all of this shit going on right now is trying to take you away from your sovereign self. And right now that my sovereign self is sovereign because I got this in my system and I got this card. You know what I mean? And this card is going to fuck over your brothers and sisters who don't want it and have the right to not want it. Have the right to. So go get it, but don't back anything that starts to be like, you need to have this to go get this. Because when that starts happening, the airlines just did it, South Node and Sag. I already told you, anything South Node and Sag, don't go to. That Black Widow movie is going to be dark as fuck. The conspiracy theory is trying to get people that are talking about anything that's questioning the norm as a conspiracy theory, that her dark past and a fucking conspiracy theory. And she's a Black Widow. Like, come on. Are you not seeing the programming? Like, that's what I just figured that out now. I didn't plan this. I didn't, like, that's fucking easy. But when airlines are starting to do it, right? And this is right when people are tired of a year of being in this world and families haven't seen each other, even if you're in the same country, like New Yorkers in LA and stuff like that. And right when it's all about to finally be able to be that way, I've been telling you all, this is why you have to use this week to start making the changes in your life and start creating the environment in your life and finding the love aspects of your life, finding the identity center, finding the world that you want to be and having the authority to break away. And also be prepared for, you know, you can be a member of society by just being a member of society as a human being, as a citizen, and not breaking rules, because they're not going to be able to force people, although they're trying. There was eight Democrats yesterday or today that want the whole military to be forced to get the shot, because 33% of them didn't take it, and actually the numbers are close to 50%. So when the own military is not taking it, us people should be writing to those eight. These are men and women in uniform that are serving the country, that are putting their life at line already. Now they're going to have to put their life at line from something that actually does kill people. I'm not saying it kills everybody, but you have another chance. It just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. And so this is where this astrology is the ultimate judgment from God. That's the only judgment you need to care about. I don't care about the judgment I'm going to get from this video. I don't care about the judgment I get from anywhere else except God. Because the mission is always to get out of, in the judgment card, to get out of the coffin as a gray body, which signifies a dead soul, and listen to the trumpet angel that is with the clouds and the sun beaming through, that is the divine calling you to listen to your inner truth. And one of the hardest things, and by the way, I'm making a big prediction. I don't know if President Biden, they're going to keep him up there. I don't even know if he'll make it to April 1st, to be honest with you. Like, that's a crazy prediction, but I've been saying this behind the scenes, so I have verification of that, but I just don't see it. It's like, I don't see it happening long. I'm not saying he's going to die. I'm just saying, like, he either steps down or whatever. But to finish this, it's like, I forgot what I was talking about because I got lost in that side thought. Because that's a big prediction. I was running the astrology in my head and running all these eights to his Pluto, that this is going to be hitting in a positive aspect, which is his 12th house. But he has Jupiter starting to square all of his Scorpio stuff in Scorpio, and he is a Scorpio, and Jupiter's his ruling planet. I was talking about, what was I talking about?
I was trying to think that Well, I know somebody wrote a comment right as you were saying that about a bill in the House saying you can't work for the government if you are linked to conspiracy theories. And I was thinking, oh, that I wanted to ask you about that.
Oh,
But I
about the
think you,
bill, Lincoln, if you part of conspiracy. I mean, anything could be a conspiracy theory. You're allowed to have freedom of speech, which is also freedom of thought, freedom to question. You know how many conspiracy theories have come true in life? Like, so what's the defining of a conspiracy theory? That's too broad. Again, South Node and Sag. That's too broad of a spectrum. You're allowed to be like, the sky is blue. Well, the sky could be light blue. The sky could be red. The sky could be orange. It could be violet, black. I mean, like, come on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a conspiracy theory if you say the sky's not blue. Well, the sky's a lot of fucking colors every day. You know what I mean? That's what conspiracy theory is used for, is that you can always, anything that's all generalized, right?
until the documents are released and you find out it was true, right?
Correct. It's always years later and then you find it all out, right? It's like the same thing with the money situation. Let's deal with this later. Let's deal with it later.
Someone was saying, you know, a couple of people say things about freedom of speech, but do you think it's going to come back in our country? And then someone else said,
oh, we still have freedom of speech in this country.
Yeah.
It's just that people don't have the balls to use it. Somebody was asking me, how are we going to stop all this stuff the other day? And I said, more people need to just step into their truth and just start talking. And start, instead of being like vicious or intense, like to people, like I'll ask people, like, are you getting the shot? Why? I'm not somebody who's going to try and control anybody, but I will give them 1,000 questions to have them question it themselves, because they're getting the opposite. They're getting smooth talked, and of course they're only using minorities, and they're trying to target minorities, which is really sad. There was a great video I just watched on how this whole thing was about targeting minorities to get it first only, and that they're using racial, you know, injustices for people to get it, which is kind of scary. I actually am like, that's fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's fucked up. Because it's like, it almost feels like they're doing exactly what they're trying to say they're going against. Right? And then I just think it's funny that white people are like trying to jump the lines with this thing. I'm like, wow, that's how you set it up in a weird way. But it's so funny that a lot of minorities see through this and are the ones that don't want to take it either. That's what's so funny. Is like you can't try and do a trick, and the people being tricked will see it, and the people who fall for the trick weren't the ones being targeted, but they go run for it because they're so stupid. You know what I mean? Like, and idiotic. So it's so weird the way the world works. But I would just say this. You're not going to see any, this is the last week of any peak out in the astrology. You will not see this much peak. What I mean by that is this much energy for you peaking out in cyclical form, where Mars and Rahu we didn't get that last year, and we're not going to see it again in Gemini for 18 years, and you're not going to see it with the Sun in Aries, Venus and the Sun conjunct, Sun, Venus, Chiron. Like, this is where the greatest healing can happen. This is mainly about the relationships you're around, because guess what? Those determine who you are. Those determine who's going to rat on you. What's next is going to be like, look at what's happening in Israel. They know who has gotten it and who hasn't. In America, we don't know that unless we ask somebody. But what if they start to turn the narrative? And I'm giving a hypothesis or a question, especially as this thing looks so set up. It's insane, right? It's like the second it comes out, oh, you know, there's a lot of variance. Yeah, there's a lot of variance to life. That's why there is no such thing as a conspiracy theory, because there's a lot of opinions and there's a lot of ideas and there's people who have questions to things and nobody puts out the answers. It's a conspiracy theory to ask questions about the border, why we can't see in there, and why doesn't the administration let Homeland Security or the Border Patrol let the media in there? Oh, because that goes against the story that they were pushing, that the other side was horrible at the border and they can't show that they're worse. I mean, all this stuff right now going on is you got to have the strength to do what you wanted to have in your life, because there's not a lot of opportunities throughout this year for that. Like Jupiter and Aquarius is weird doorways that you must take. And with Saturn there, they're very limited. And if you're not going to trust that in the astrology, then I don't know what to tell you. You know, like, we're also in the weird part of Chiron, when it was, of course, entered into Aries in 1969. We saw Nixon and Watergate and stuff. But we're starting to head into where the position was, where in the 70s, people started creating their own styles. They kind of created their own lives. They hung out at home more. They kind of, cars started looking weird. Like the new BMW M4, I'm a sports car guy. Everybody's saying it's the ugliest car. Like, looks so weird. Right? Have you noticed how cars are starting to get all weird looking and stuff? They're trying weirder looks. Like, why are 70s cars not worth crap? They're not worth anything. Even like, look at the El Camino. Let's take a truck and a car and put it together. Now, unless you have the 1970 El Camino SS, that was a badass car with 454 in it. Truck, yeah, that was badass. But like, it has to be super badass, Aries-ish, to kind of overcome. That's when the AMC starts making the Gremlin. Like, you guys have to all see how all this is going. Like, Tesla's like AMC to me, right? It's like the come up of the AMC, American Motor Company, and the weird cars it makes, and then by the end it fails. Because all the other manufacturers now are creating electric cars, right? And then, like, it's really for him to fund SpaceX, right? It's really for him to do his pet projects with... Let's not forget, with Elon Musk, he wants to put shit into your brain and start playing with your brain. Which it looks like he tested on his own experiment, like most scientists do. So, I'm going to end it right there, because I got to go. I got to go do a lot of things. I love you all. This is the week to do it all and look at your relationships the most. This is the biggest relationship portal since the 2 full moons in Libra. That was in 2019. But this one's way more intense, and at a time where you've got to take the actions to change your environment, change your life, and to speak your truth, and to be in your truth, and to own your sovereignty, and to, if we're gonna be focused so much on the collective, are you really focused on the collective? From the opposite point. So take the story that you're helping the collective by not getting others screwed over or infected. Are you sure that you're not looking at the repercussions of going towards that plan and the repercussions for people who have rights that would be taken away? Which one's more sovereign? And the data shows that, I mean, let's be real. Like, they're already telling you, and this came from the president's mouth, that if everybody follows this and everybody gets it, you still have to wear a mask, you still have to do all this stuff that everybody else that doesn't take it has to. And you eventually, by July 4th, might be able to go into your backyard outside and have a barbecue with a small circle. You're already allowed to do that! Does anybody remember that one? Or try to find me somebody that's just sitting at their house still alone, not wanting to see anybody. There might be some crazy. And mental health comes up a lot with Mars and Rahu, because it's like the courageous ones that realize you're not crazy for looking at truth, right? And that there's too many questions. And with Mercury and Neptune, I'm telling you, the media is about to bring us the weirdest shit that nobody could guess coming into after this full moon. And especially when that moon comes into Scorpio Tuesday, when Mercury is semi-square Uranus. And that's why I think we'll see some weird things here with the president not maybe being president no more. So, my best to you all, and not your quest, not your search, but your pursuit to truth, your embodiment of truth. And a warrior is not one that goes and starts a war. A warrior is one that fights for the battle of those that are being taken advantage of, manipulated, lied to, and persecuted. Everybody needs to find their William Wallace inside. Because to me, William Wallace stood up for the Scottish. And look at how, maybe people need to watch Braveheart and remember what Longshanks did. Because, I hate to say it, the English then went into Scotland and said, because we now have control of you all, when anybody gets married, a lord or anybody high up in English, we need to make sure that we procreate English here, so they go to bed first with the wife. That shit happened. But you got to take 2021, you got to take all the weird stuff going around, and what is this weird energy out there that's trying to take control, going to start thinking of the creepiest, weirdest things about what they're going to take over on people's sovereignty, especially about a bunch of people who are going, I see the truth, I'm not buying it, I have the right to not buy it. Oh, but by the way, too, yeah, like, we're just going to tax the crap out of everybody and lie until that everybody, if you don't make any money or whatever, you don't make this much money, you won't be taxed. Yeah, right. Just go look at since 2011 that everybody has been taxed more than ever, and the government has brought more tax revenue in than ever. So that's what the number. From 2011 to 2020, the government has brought in more tax dollars every year, but it has a spending problem and has a fucked up problem and a budget problem. Doesn't matter if it's Republican, it doesn't matter if it's Democrat. So people have to wake up. This is, I would say, and because Mars is in the Pleiades right now, and it just came past Aldebaran and North Node's heading towards Aldebaran, like, this is like Lightworker fucking 101 mission, like, first, like, the main mission. Like, the main order from that divine mission. And we all have to be in the light, and we have to be truth bringers. We have to keep spreading the light out to people, because after this, it's going to get weird. And this is where you find that light crew, you find those relationships that have it, you find your beauty in the life that you create, and you heal your life through being courageous, by being one that takes on, by taking responsibility for your sovereign power and what you're here to do, and that the power of God, the power of the divine, the power that you were seated with is all that you need to get through this universe. You don't need all these external things. You don't need all this shit that's gonna fucking change your whole structure that was divinely created for you. That's all I got today. I'm going to go to Deep Astrology and drop the truth. So subscribe to iVibe.tv, because I'm going to go through these charts. I'm going to show you. In the Helio, I'll go into that. If you don't know what's going on from the sun's point of view this week with Mercury, that's on the backside of this that you all don't know. You got to look at Helio and Geo. What's going on from the solar system point of view, the sun point of view, and what's going on from the Earth's point of view. I love you all very much. HighVibe.tv, Deep Astrology. I'll see you soon. Love you all. You all have power within yourself. Go get it and spread the info to others and be that leader to others by just being compassionate, loving, and seeing the truth and not falling for the hysteria and not falling for the frequencies that are being paid for by our... I, as a citizen, do not approve of the messages that are being put out with the tax dollars that I paid for to convince people to take an experiment. When you own that in yourself, you send that vibration out to the universe. You hear that message and you own that message. That means that, no, God isn't going to help me. Only this will. I have this. And the last time that you had to have this to get through certain lines and to get through certain places was in Nazi Germany. Let me see your papers. God save us. Adios.